After holding auditions, you still might have questions about who to cast. To help make this decision, many productions will have callbacks. Callbacks are when you call back your top choices for another audition, or maybe to read with other actors that have already been cast, or might be cast, to see their chemistry together. We didn't have callbacks on The Assurance, but that is another part of the casting process sometimes. After making our casting choices, we contacted the actors that won the roles and ensured that they were still interested and available. We were also sure to contact all the actors we did not select to let them know we made other decisions. Now, this isn't always done, maybe not even frequently done, but it seems respectful to me, so these people aren't sitting around just indefinitely waiting for a response. We talked about why we cast William Bratt in the role of Garoon in the last movie, and we actually cast Will Rose as the preacher for a similar reason. I was initially interested in another actor for that part, John Cleese. John just looked the part to me. He was exactly what I pictured in my head the preacher looking like. John has also been involved in local governments, just a really responsible guy. But he saw the preacher as a two-dimensional character, probably because that's how he wrote him, unfortunately. But when Will Rose auditioned, he brought a real, genuine sensitivity that just resonated with me. When he was pleading with imaginary townspeople, I believed him. After his initial performance, I gave him some notes of some things to change. I actually love the intensity of your emotions. Mm-hmm. It feels very genuine and very strong. And I would like to tone down the physical expression of that intensity, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I still want you to feel those same feelings, but the stakes are not as high. My direction, unfortunately, was overwrought and long-winded, but he did a great job with those changes anyway. He also improvised a little in the audition, so I knew that he could be invested in the character and this world. And I just loved working with this guy in the audition. I knew that I'd have similar experiences with him on set, so we cast Will as the preacher. I was really happy that we cast Will. During a break on set, he fashioned this prop out of tree branches. And this was one of my favorite props in the film. My initial concept for the preacher was for him to be more of a shadow character, a little overzealous, like we couldn't tell whether he was good or bad. But after seeing Will Rose's audition, I decided to change my initial thinking. Will Rose brought a sweetness to the character that made it clear that he's not a villain. In the end, this subdued tone worked well with the tone of the overall film. But I sometimes wonder what the film would have been like if he were morally ambiguous a little more. So as we'll look at in the next training series in the course about directing, as a director you kind of have to make choices like this all the time. Is the preacher going to be a little on the crazy side or a little more sincere and sympathetic? There are definitely pros and cons to both views, and these aren't the only options. If you're directing, you'll need to make tough decisions like this all the time. As mentioned before, I cast Andrew Tribolini and Eva Jane after working with them on other projects. Eva was in Bry Troyer's short film, I Love You Puppet Man, and did a great job in that role and was a blast to have on set. I had seen Andrew Tribolini in the Zach Galifianakis film Visioneers, and everybody in Seattle knows and loves Andrew, so I snagged these two pros without an audition. Though in retrospect, I don't know that I would do that again. Judging from Andrew's resistance in rehearsal, I don't know that he liked the script very much. He was totally dedicated to the role, and I think he did a great job, but didn't seem up his alley. So after The Assurance, especially seeing how much Will Rose and William Bratt taught me about the characters through their auditions, I don't know that I would cast actors without an audition again. I've learned that that process is just too important to skip. I should also point out that I cast my daughter Natty as Cordelia. I did this because Natty has acted in several of my shorts before, and she's always felt believable to me. And I also thought it would be interesting showing how to work with child actors, which we'll look at in a few chapters. But it was also a logistical decision. I knew that Cordelia would be wandering a ton, and there's no other way that I could get another actor to drive all over the state and coordinate that and pay them for their time. But because Natty is my daughter, we just take family road trips across Washington state and film little bits here and there without any other crew. We also had lots of extras. I had a few skinny friends that were willing to brave the cold, but most of these people are friends of Bry Troyer. I told Bry what I was looking for and gave him total control over the casting of the extras. So that's our cast. I think in a perfect world, things might have been a little different. Will Rose and Andrew Tribolini, as well as most of the male extras, were probably too manicured with their hair and their facial hair. I mean, if they were really this nomadic people living off the land, how would they cut their hair like that? Along those same lines, a lot of our extras were just gorgeous. These people were supposed to be dying out, Ideally, they would have looked like a cross between Christian Bale and the Machinist and Gollum from the Lord of the Rings movies. But you have to make concessions like this when you're making low-budget short films. We had Andrew and Will grow out their scruff as much as they could between auditions and when we shot. It's certainly not perfect, though. But just like all aspects of indie filmmaking, the trick is to do the best you can with the resources you have available.